What is up, you guys? So I wanted to kind of go over today how to read flow when I post it from Blackbox, or even when you guys see this coming in on something like the Tradie Ticks bot, which is in the Discord. So in this video, we're going to go over how to actually read the flow on Blackbox. Like, for instance, when I come through, if you're a premium member and I post something like these flows, how you guys can read them to get the most out of this and to truly understand what big money is doing and why they are doing it. So let's get into it. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out our upgraded membership. We have an upgraded membership role within this Discord. It is $20 per month. You get access to all of my trades, the premium chat room, as well as all of the upgraded bots like the golden sweeps, the large sweeps, the tradie flow, all of that, which will actually single out some of the best flow of the day and give it to you guys in an alert. So let's start talking about flow. I think that one of the things that a lot of people have issues with when they start becoming a flow trader or reading about flow is that they put too much thought into what the flow of the day specifically is, right? So for instance, if we just come in here to Blackbox and we just reset this thing at all the normal settings that we will have, you can see that this is the flow for Friday across the market. And this is just the last 20 minutes of the market. You can see at 3:41 to about 4 p.m., this is all the flow that has come through. And something I want you guys to realize is that just because flow comes through doesn't mean that we're going to take a position. It doesn't mean that the flow is worth anything. It doesn't mean anything at all. 99.9% of all the flow that comes through in a single day is going to be worthless. Even on something like these, the golden sweeps are different, but even if you're using the free Tradie Ticks bot and you're trying to figure out like, okay, what's going on with this flow, 90% of the flow that comes through is going to be worthless. And we're going to talk about why in this video. So let's go back and let's take a look right now at, let's just look at a stock that had really good flow on Friday. And let's look at something like Uber. Now, let's look at all of this, and there's three. Well, let's talk about how to read it first. Then we'll talk about what we're going to actually look for. So the first thing is going to be the time, and we're going to go over how to do this with Blackbox, and then we're going to go over how to do this with the Tradie Ticks software. So the first line is time. This is the time that obviously the flow came through at. So this right here is 3:58. This came through at 3:58. 350, 235, 234, and if you're looking at screenshots of it, you're watching it in Eastern Standard Time, which means obviously, you know, if you're watching in the West Coast and you're 3 hours behind me and I post flow that says 358, that's going to be like whatever the time zone is for you, like 150 or 1258 or whatnot, or 1258. So please remember this, anything that I'm going to post is going to be Eastern Standard Time. Now, the next thing is going to be the symbol. Obviously, Uber. This is the one that we're watching. This is Uber. Expiration date. Now, expiration date is the date in which the contracts that they are purchasing are expiring. So these ones expire in June 17th, 2022, February 18th, 2022, February 18th, 2022. Obviously, this is pretty self-explanatory up until this point. Now, if you don't know how to read flow at all, I highly recommend you go and watch our video, which I'm going to post a whole printout here for you guys of like top videos you should watch if you're part of this Discord, and just learn how options work first. And I will be making an options course within the next couple of weeks to help educate you guys and teach you guys how to, read options appropriately and everything. So the next thing is going to be your strike. The strike here, this strike was $55. This strike was $30. And you can see, for instance, this strike here is very far out of the money. Right now, Uber is only trading at $36. So a 55 strike is pretty crazy. $30 strike, $40 strike, C/P, that obviously means call or puts. That means they bought the calls. Now you can see here spot. So this is where it's going to start to get a little tricky when you're reading this. Spot is the price of the underlying stock. So 36.69, that means that when this person purchase these Uber calls, Uber was trading at 36.69. This person, it was trading at 36.69. This person, 36.81. So right there, from what you can see already, this is the price of the underlying stock. Now I'm going to zoom in, hopefully, so you guys can get a better idea. This is actually not going to work out. I'm sorry. That anytime I zoom in here, it doesn't tend to really work on something like this because the way the Blackbox platform is set up. But let's look at the details. And the details, they always say like the devil is in the details, but it's very, very true. This 1238 at 3.397 underscore AA. The details is extremely, extremely important, and this is what differentiates basically the 99% of the flow that comes through that we don't care about. And you can see here, 1238 is the amount of contracts that they purchased. So they bought 1,238 contracts at a price of $3.39 per contract. Now remember, we're trading options here. So this means that this number, $3.39 times 100. So that means that they ended up buying it at $3.39 times 100 is the amount for one contract. And they bought 1,238 contracts. Now, sweep means that this was the only order that came through on that order. They said, basically the way to think of it this way is when you see a sweep, it means that they're saying, I don't care what platform you put it through, what exchange ends up filling this, I just want to get filled. When you see a block that is showing less urgency, unless it's with a bunch of sweeps, which we'll talk about later on. But when you see sweep, it means I don't care what the exchange is, I just want to get filled. Now this AA right here is extremely important. This means above the ask. So when you see A, that means ask, ask, ask. That means they're buying. Right? If you see AA, that means above the ask. That means they do not care what price they are getting in at. They just want to get filled, which shows urgency, which is extremely important. We'll talk about that in a minute. So when you see AA sweep, first thing that gets my attention because it's showing urgency, which is what I'm looking for. Now, the second thing is going to be the value. So the value right here, this is going to be the price that they paid for all of the contracts. So that's the position right there, basically $420,000 order. And then the implied volatility is just your IV. Now, what are the three things that we're looking for when it comes to, taking a position or flow in general? We are looking for size, time, and urgency. I highly recommend that you write this down. Size, time, and urgency. So let's go through the very first thing, size. I don't care about a $17,000 position, a $13,000 position, a $66,000 position, nothing like that. I'm looking for millions and millions of dollars, preferably $2 to $3 million to even pique my curiosity. Now, there are some stocks that are much smaller cap companies like, something like a Wish or something like that, where $150,000, $200,000 would pique my curiosity, but I want to see a lot of money. I want to see a lot of size coming into a position. And so the first thing you can see with this Uber one, $420,000. That is decent. That is a good amount of size. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is going to be time and urgency. Size, time, urgency. So size, this hits our check mark right here, and we'll talk about why, because 420,000 really is not that much, but we'll talk about why it does hit it in a second. $420,000, that shows big size. The next thing we're looking for is time. When does the contract expire? Now, there are some positions, like I took a Robinhood position this week that had size, time, and urgency, but the time was a week. They expired within a week. I was actually up $300-$400 within just 30 minutes, and then I ended up taking a $400 loss because I didn't really like the time, and I shouldn't have taken the position in the first place, or I should have at least cashed out. This has a lot of time. I like to see contracts that expire minimum within 2 months because it shows that they have some time on their hands and they're willing to allow this position to ride out. So we have the size, we have the time, this expires in June. Now we need urgency. Now, how do we find urgency, right? I'm not going to actually ask you, but think to yourself, what is going to show urgency? Well, we talked about a sweep, and a sweep means I don't care what the price of the contract is, what the exchange is, I just want to get filled. So that is showing urgency. And then AA means above the ask. That means they don't care what the price of the contract is. They just want to get filled. That shows urgency. So we have size, we have time, we have urgency, all good things. Now, we talked about the size, but something I want you to realize is this right here, all of this purple is one buyer. And how can we tell? Well, let's start by looking at the time. These came through at 1:47. So from 1:47 to 1:49, within 2 minutes, basically, all of this flow came in for the same exact date, 6/17/2022, the same exact strike, 42.50, and most of these came in urgently. And the cool thing about this is if I click on this, this is going to show you all of the buys for the day. And look down here, you can see at 1:46, they even bought more. And look at all this. Look at the sweeps that came through. So let's do a little math right here very quickly in my head, which is going to be pretty bad. But let's just look. This is one buyer for sure. Within 20 minutes, they bought a $50,000 order. So 70, that's 120 plus 1 million plus 1 million. We're looking at about 2.3 plus 300,000 plus 500,000 plus 200,000, 300,000, 600. We're looking at about $5 million, maybe even $6 million worth of calls within 20 minutes for the same strike, same date. That is one buyer. This right here is perfection. This is exactly what I am looking for when I want to enter a position on something like Uber. Now, I'm not going to just enter the position just for the sake of entering the position. I'm going to go through and I'm going to take a look at the charts. And if I look at Uber and I think, okay, how could this thing trade over the next couple of months? It is looking like we might try to bounce here at 37. We could pull back to 32 and then take a bounce from there. So you can decide, do you want to enter now and follow big money, or do you want to wait until it pulls back? Some people just blindly follow, which I wouldn't really say it's blind. I think that's like a poor way to say that, but they'll just follow it as soon as the flow comes in. I do that sometimes because you have to realize, like, the people who are buying these calls are massive hedge funds who the only way that they make money is if they take customers' money and go and turn it into more money in the market. So they know way more than we do. So it's our goal basically to follow them and to trade off of them. So they know something more than we do. Normally, I will just take a position and I will just hold the position. Most of the time I will set a stop loss, but sometimes I just won't because I'm like, they know something. 9 times out of 10, they're right. There is the chance that they're not right. Same with me. There's a chance where I'm not correct. However, that's why you don't want to sink all your money into one position, because if you sink all your money into one position, you can end up screwing yourself. The other thing too, I see a lot of people do this where they might not have enough money to take the actual position that big money's taking or to buy shares. So they buy like a half-assed version of this. Like instead of a 42.50 strike, they might buy a 70 strike or like a 60 strike so that they can afford it. And then they'll end up losing a ton of money. And it's like, you have to realize they specifically picked this date and this time for a reason. So don't make it harder. If you can't follow it, then just wait for another position. Let's take a look at something that doesn't, we're just going to go through some stocks, but let's take a look at some flow that I don't really care about. For instance, this is a really good example here. This is the flow on Wish. So this was the flow on Wish on Friday. Now, a couple of things. One, unusual flow that came through. So this is not just flow, like all the buys. This is just anything that's unusual. This is the first one, the first and the only one that came through. 1207, it was for Wish. It was a 1/20/2023. Strike was $3, so it's in the money. Call came in on the ask. It's a block, so that probably came in with something else that we're just not seeing, and the value is $24,000. I don't care about that. That's not something I care about. Let's look at something like Apple even, right? It doesn't have to be these small companies, but let's just look at something like Apple. For instance, on Friday, let's look at maybe these 318s, these 318 2022s. This doesn't get me going here, right? So 318 2022, $200 call, a sweep for $200,000. That is not much on Apple. Like $200,000 is really nothing on Apple. And then another $70,000. Like I don't care too much about that. These 1210s that came through. I don't care about anything that's a 1210 if it's expiring within the next day or something. Like that's not something for me. So we're looking for size, we're looking for time, and we're looking for urgency. Now let's talk about the bots that we have here. So if you guys are a premium member, you can, if you're not, you can just go sign up, go to the upgrade section and upgrade for $20 a month. But if you are a premium member, you have access to these golden sweeps, large sweeps, and the golden sweeps is the most important thing. Golden sweeps is the single-handed most important one here because this is going to give you the biggest buys and sells that came out for the day. Now, this does not mean that just because something comes through the golden sweep section that it's a buy and that you need to take a position. but let's just take a look at it. So let's look at some of the biggest flows that came through. And if you go through and you look, you can see here, oh, here's those Uber buys. Look at all the Uber buys that came through on the day. If I'm looking at this golden sweep section here, this is what I'm looking for, right? Because if you don't have access to Blackbox, which is like $100 a month, and I post the best flow on this Discord anyway at the end of the day, which I am allowed to do. I have contacted Blackbox specifically and said, hey, I'm not giving away live feed or live data, but I do have a Discord and I do post a flow at the end of the day for a position. They're cool with it. Now, this is something that's very important here because look, 9 large call sweeps for 6/17/2022, 42.50 strike, $1 million. So that right here shows you time and it shows you a size. Now, urgency with trading ticks, you are really not going to be able to see urgency. But if you are somebody like, somebody in the upgraded role, I will actually post all of the best flow for the day within the flow section. And you can see I posted the Uber flow for the day. And on this flow, you can see the urgency is there. So if it really is that big of a flow, I will normally post it myself. But you can see here, 6/17/2022, 42.50. They hit again for 1.6 million, hit again for 559,000, hit again, same strike, same date, 350,000, hit again for $1 million. Hit again for 750,000, again 663,000, again 300,000, again 500,000. So if you're watching this and you're getting the alerts for the golden sweeps, this is unusual. This is very, very unusual, and I would have definitely taken a position on this for sure. Now let's look at some stuff that's really not unusual. So we look here, this is definitely not bad. This 1/30/2023 on Apple at $18.2 million. $20 million is a lot of money, but you also have to realize like this is over a year out, and looking at how Apple is trading, I probably would not have taken a position here. The 12/17s, I don't really care too much about, to be quite honest, because they expire within a week. These zooms, this is a little interesting, but still they're not hitting it multiple times. That's what I want to see. Now, this actually going back up, I will say this Apple, even though it's a 12/17, it's risky, but this is good because they hit them short term here, 12/17, 12/17, hit it again, 12/17, hit it again, 12/17, all within like minutes. So that is a little unusual, but that Uber is a perfect example of something to keep your eye on. Hilton right here, this is a perfect example back on the 8th to keep an eye on. We caught those as well. So this is a very good example here. This is on the 8th. Apple. They're just continuing to hit it, and they're continuing to hit it for the same exact dates. So that is how you read flow, and the more that you read it, the more you watch it, the better you become. But basically, any of the best flow of the day, I will post within the Discord, in the trading flow, within the flow section, if you're a premium member. And if you're not a premium member, then you can upgrade, or you can just go to the Trading Ticks research section and then you can actually look for the flow yourself. So TR-unusual flow, and then you can just type in like Apple or like whatever the ticker is that you're looking for, and it will actually come up with the most unusual flow. So guys, I hope that this video helped. If you haven't already, I will probably put this video to YouTube, but if you haven't already, I highly recommend that you go and check out the Discord. It's completely free. We have over 3,000 members. It is just a phenomenal platform. We try to give everything away that we possibly can for free, but we do want to grow this Discord. We do want to obviously make revenue off of this so that we can reinvest. Like this Trading Ticks bot is like $200 a month already. So we're trying to continue to put more and more money, hire some people in 2022 to help run this Discord entirely. So go check it out, guys. Thanks for all the support. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I will see you next time.